Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, today I have Shantae Micah on the line, and she's a founder over at Good News. Shantae, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, first thing first, the name of your company, Good News. I mean, love it. First off, how'd you come up with that? I just have to know the story behind it.
There is a story. So Josh is the co-founder. He's my business partner. We went through all sorts of naming conventions. And at the start, I was like, Josh, I hate all of these. Can we just call it good? Can we just call it Good News? Because in my world, I've been in PR and brand marketing for 20 years. It's something that I would often say, and it was usually, hey, good news, we just landed Vogue, and then on to the next. So it was like, yeah, moment, but then moving forward. So like, can we just call it Good News? And lo and behold, it was available. And yeah, so that was the naming convention that we ended up going with after a series of just, I hated everything that we came up with until that point.
That's amazing. And so you're an industry vet, as you mentioned. You've been doing this work for a long time. How'd you break into the business? Well, how'd you get hooked, I should say, because you've been doing it for a couple decades now.
Yeah. So I started out as a journalist, a broadcast journalist. That's what my bachelor's was in. And I jumped in with international sports broadcasting. And it was really cool because international sports broadcasting, back in the day, they were the host broadcasters of the Olympics, and they were the only host broadcasters of the Olympics.
Cool.
So it was really, I got to do some really, really interesting things. But I will tell you that broadcast, it's one of those industries where you can love most of it and then really loathe like a part of it. And the burnout is quite real. So a few years after I graduated, I was working. I found myself upstate New York and on Syracuse University's campus, and they happened to have the #1 communications school in the country. And for PR, it was #1. I think for most of their programs, it's either #1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. And they only accepted at the time 15 students per year for the graduate programs, per program. I thought, okay, Hail Mary, had this moment where I'm like, I think I'm supposed to do this. So submitted an application at 11 p.m. the day before it was due, and just waited, thinking, okay, this will be a test of fate. And I was accepted. It was a 9-month program. It was insanely hard and amazing, and came out of it. And that was the next thing. I jumped into a startup that was growing really crazy. And I was over all of their corporate communications, including PR. And from there, I went to another company that sent me to Israel to be an expat and open that market. And that was insane. I don't think I slept more than 4 hours a night for a year.
Wow.
And that was when social media was just becoming a thing for business. So the before times, now we think social media that is business, but there was a before times. And they were telling me, can you figure this out for us? And I'm like, sure. That's something.
Wow.
And it was really cool. So SEO was emerging, but I was very much focused on media, brand marketing, social media. And I had my own consulting firm for a bit, was recruited again by an agency. And that's where I met Josh, my business partner. And that was 11 years ago.
Wow. Congrats. 10 years with the same business partner over that. Congrats. Good. Shout out to you and Josh. That's amazing.
Yeah. We've known each other 11 years, but we started Good News 4 years ago, mainly because we stayed in touch and we just had an immense amount of respect for one another. And we were accountability partners because we were each building some just projects that we had personally. And one day he was like, would you ever want to do anything together? And I'm like, that list people I'd partner with is real short, and you're on it.
Wow.
So we considered what's that project, and honestly, for a minute, we were like, we both love podcasts, so we were circling around that idea of let's do a podcast together, and that's still on the docket. But then I kept getting phone calls from colleagues or former colleagues, friends, family. They were like, PR, like demystify it for me. So that's when I wrote the PR Power Play, and it was really just putting all of my framework into a book and making it accessible to people I cared about, because there really is this mystique to PR. And then good news emerged. And with Josh's engineering, his approach to like engineering and facilitating like productization of certain things and research and data, we have just like found this, I would call it a blue ocean in this marketplace. And it starts to become new and fun again. And let me tell you, after COVID, I thought PR, I was like, okay, I think I've seen everything. So, nope, I'm back.
Well, let's get into, I do like a little bit of myth busting here. You're obviously an expert. What's the biggest myth about PR and media coverage that you've seen? Talk to me about the myth.
Yeah, so I think the biggest myth is that you need a PR agency or it's about luck or timing or who you know. And really it's about owning your messaging, understanding how to show up in conversations that already matter. So it's actually less about you than you think. It's your ability to adapt your message to relevant cultural conversations, to what's happening in the world, to angles that journalists care about. And then the ability to put that into a pitch, a very pithy pitch, and do that with enough reps that you just start landing consistently those media features.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about this because I haven't been in this business as long as you have. Not PR specifically, like podcasting going on 9 years. Before that, I was in finance and for almost 14 years. And now, we do quite a bit in PR. It's just overflowed based off of being in the podcast and media space. And I'm thinking to myself, like, where do you find that people many times go wrong? Because I don't know how, like, there's certain stigmas sometimes in the industry. And it's like, oh, PR doesn't work or this or that, like sometimes somebody will have like a bad experience or this or that with one particular company. But where do you think people go wrong when they start thinking about PR and when they put themselves out there? Where do they go wrong?
Definitely the approach to it is this mass blast mentality, and you probably get a lot of really pitches in your inbox, and it's just, and maybe you don't blacklist them, but in your mind you kind of bookmark, like they're not a source. So you're not approaching it in the way of, I'm here to build a relationship and be a value add from point one and demonstrating that I've done due diligence. But I would say even before that is, to your point, saying that it doesn't work means that you're expecting direct attribution to the bottom line. And there are ways to measure that. But even now, direct attribution is like become a thing of the past. I mean, Rand Fishkin, he was the founder of Moz. He now runs SparkToro. He's come out and said attribution is dying because of so much that is being shared that has that substantial brand credibility. It's happening on dark social, in text messages, it's happening on Slack channels, it's happening in ways that you can't attribute. So whatever you think you're attributing to, whether it's first touch, last touch, is wrong anyway. So like more content is probably not the gameplay, especially with AI being a huge equalizer of just creating sheer content. Your own content, make it good, but I don't think that's the singular strategy. Ads, we're all experiencing ad fatigue, and then the attribution of that and then algorithm change means all of that could change tomorrow. So I would say the myth is really in that attribution, is that it doesn't work, because it really does. If you think of the content that shows up in media, even the SEO value of that versus 30 pieces of your own content is higher. It's going to rank with more authority if we're talking in terms of SEO. It's going to have better know, like, and trust factors. So it's going to improve the velocity of them coming to your site, already trusting you enough, and then the velocity of that sales cycle. It's just in ways that you have to adjust your thinking in terms of measuring everything. Because it's people and feelings and irrational things.
How can founders start, earning their first media features? Like, where do you normally recommend people start?
Yeah, a lot of times we'll tell them you have to consider message clarity. So what do you want to be known for? And don't think of it in terms of exclusively your expertise. Think of it in terms of what your expertise adds value to in the marketplace with your audiences. So that message clarity is really important. The alignment, so knowing the topics, but the angles to that. And from that, you can go, let's say you have your dream list of places you'd like to be. And I assume most people, when they think of media, they think of top national. I would also heavily consider your industry, because that's when you're going to get ready buyers, even if it's smaller. But go there, look at the stories that people are telling, look at the bylines, do a little bit of due diligence of, who are the people that are being featured? How did they share their story? Look at the journalists that wrote the stories about them, figure out their beat, their body of work. And then from that, you can create pitches. And really, it's about pitch consistency. So regularly enough pitches that it works for not only relevance, but also the timing. Because some journalists get 300 pitches in a given day. So what they're looking for is relevance, and then I have a deadline tomorrow. This actually matches that. And so the pitching consistency means that you're just out there, you're taking the shots. Enough of those will land. You'll build rapport with the ones that even don't land, because they'll think, wow, they really showed, like they demonstrated they understood my audience. I got to bookmark them. But yeah.
I like that you bring this up, because for people that aren't in the industry, they maybe sometimes create, and I've seen this, that spray and pray kind of like mentality, as you mentioned. You didn't use that wording, but they're just like kind of sending stuff out, and you'll see. And it's interesting to see how you can quickly like do the opposite, and then you see the same person's name or something else. You're like, okay, what are they talking about now? Okay, yeah, move on, right? And so over time, I try to tell people whenever I have somebody on like yourself who's an expert in the field, I'm like, there's people on the other side of that email or of whatever you're sending out that are actually reading this stuff, right? There's humans. So you have to think about what you're sending out, right? I mean, that might sound obvious, but I mean, I'm sure you've seen it too, right?
But yeah, it's not. I mean, we talk about this a lot at Good News, human first principles. So we build systems to everything we do. But if it's in lieu of a human first principle, we don't do it, because ultimately a journalist is going to be very protective of one thing, which is their audience, and their beaten body of work supports their audience. You care, Adam, about your audience on this show. So assuming, I sent you a pitch, you obviously responded. Your audience, just based on the repetitions and the positive deposits you put out there, they assume, well, Adam has vetted this person. Therefore, I have more credibility than if I were to come and just be like, I'm really cool. Believe me. You tell people the pitch, the only job of the pitch is to make a stranger care.
That's great. Great. How do people work with you at Good News? How do they connect, and who normally gets the most value out of working with you and your team?
Mostly people that are founders, executives, VIPs, or people responsible for them. They're the marketing people that have also been tasked with media and PR. They're even the in-house PR team that's maybe a team of 1 or 2 or 10 at $1 billion brand, and they need a system that they could implement within a few weeks versus months and months. And those are the people, like I said, the founders and executives, those are like celebrity CEOs. Like, we're seeing a lot of the value of a big brand also having that CEO or executive that has a personal brand, and how that doubles down on that no life and trust factor for them. So we work with those people in that they have a business to run, they have a job to do, and we build them the system that they can feasibly within an hour each week manage the system. Of course, you have to bank more time when you start landing multiple podcast interviews and top national features, which that's a good problem to have. But the management of it is isolated to the system, and everything's baked into that.
Fantastic. How do people follow up? Where do they connect with you, and how do they pick up a copy of that book?
Yeah, so if you go to highgoodnews.com, and that's HI, so hello, but highgoodnews.com, there's a banner, and we have a gift for anyone that clicks on that banner, and you can opt in and get that. And then the book is /book, and you can get PR Power Play. And that's my entire framework. It's the framework I've used for 20 years on teams where I've been a team of 1, where I've led a team of 20 or more. It's the same framework. It's the DIY approach, but the point was to make it accessible for people that think PR is a nice to have, or something that once I hit $1 billion, I'll be able to afford it. No, get started now, even if you're in the startup phase, because you'll probably get a lot more leverage now than if you wait.
Fantastic. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes so that you can click on them and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're releasing new content, new ideas. and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And again, Shante, thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's been a really pleasure.
Of course. Thanks, Adam.